Hi everyone, we're back with the second installment of From Start to Finish, where I show you how a comic page is done through the magic of time-lapse. This time we're tackling the cover art for my next short horror comic called Blod. So the process is going to be a little bit different compared to the last video. The beginning stages are still very similar to any comic page I do. We're starting with roughs, aided by a thumbnail as usual. I'll end up doing two roughs for this. The first one here is just a super quick outline, and then we try to get a little bit more into it with the second one, but still keeping the lines as loose as possible. You can see that I'm just constantly flipping the page up on the lightbox to check the second rough without the first one interfering. Also getting a rough idea of what the title of the comic is going to be. A common theme with my horror comics is that I do all lettering by hand as well as the art, so I'll keep the title lettering in mind throughout this process. We're getting the proper watercolor paper out. Quick check to compare the two roughs. Okay, it's the pencil stage. Time to slow down and actually take this seriously now. I've had to edit out a lot of pauses where I'm checking references while making this. Because it's inspired by real events, I've got photos in hospital areas that I'm mashing together a bit. Switching off the lightbox to get a better look at the pencil without the added noise. Adding some quick little details. It's a new day. There'll be a lot of sleeve changes throughout this time lapse, so just get ready for that. We're now prepping to ink. It's so easy to get a bit spooked by ink and then make super stiff lines because you're so scared of messing up. I've always got the roughs next to me to keep referring back to those loose lines as I'm working. Time to get lost in the little details. It's lovely to do if you forget what that bed is actually for. Bonus points to anyone who's had the little plastic bucket next to the bed where you're asked to put your trousers and shoes before they examine you. I love it! It's great! Trying not to breathe too much while doing these lines. Just briefly swapping back to pencil here to add some extra details I spotted after another appointment in between making this page, like that plastic gown dispenser that they sometimes have on the wall. Okay, back to ink again. Freehanding the straight lines deliberately, because I like it to look a little bit wobbly. There are so many information posters in hospitals and clinics. You can't really escape them, especially not in the toilets. Trust me. erasing the pencil. And now it's time to prep for the painting, but we're not quite at the painting stage yet. So like with any page, I'll tape it down to one of my boards, but because this isn't a full watercolor comic page, it's going to be handled a bit differently from here on. Working on the dark shadows a bit with more ink lines. It's very easy to get lost in the weeds here. I got pretty obsessed with that privacy blind during this. I think it's harder to work with a limited color palette because you can't really hide behind any flashy colors if you mess something up. It's another new day, so the lighting is a bit brighter here. Okay, time to actually paint. I got one of my saved goo pots. I knew that would come in handy. Just splashing out a bit of water in there to dilute it to Liter 3 ink, which is the same ink I've used for the whole thing so far. And back to obsessing over that blind for a bit. And while you've got ink on that nib, why not just keep adding shaded bits in other areas? Painting time. Very much feel like I don't know what I'm doing with ink washes and stuff, but it's very fun to experiment with. I'll keep going back and forth between nib inking and painting, slowly working out the lighting. The very wet splashes may look a little bit dramatic, but they'll almost disappear when they dry. You'll see a proper example of that at the end when I do the lettering. It's time for some opaque white. And because I don't have any patience, we're removing this from the board while it's still wet, defeating the purpose of the tape in the first place. I'm a professional. Right, the light box comes out again. Now for the title lettering. It's kind of a speed run of the same process as the page. Quick rough, pencil, then straight on with the painting. You know how I mentioned earlier that the wet layer of the paint looks really dark? Just watch how it totally changes during this time lapse. I'm tilting the paper to get some help from gravity. Boom! Dried. Lovely watermarks, but almost no darkness remains. Jumping in with some gritty ink lines in the middle. And there you have it. The scanned cover for my upcoming horror comic, Blod. If you'd like to support its creation and get to see each page as it's completed, you can become a patron or a studio member. Have a lovely rest of your time zone.